But now, without further ado, here's Onno.
Hello, everybody. Welcome, first of all. I am really impressed by what has happened in the last couple of months. Like, I could not have imagined so many people hacking on my own genome data. Now, it feels a little weird because it's kind of not something you do every day, I guess. On the other hand, it also feels very normal because it's, sounds like it should happen. Like it's all you can do at some point, right? And someone was saying, like, you're sitting on your data. Why? Like, I guess not anymore. Yeah, I think I gave like about over 100 people access now. So if you don't have access yet, we'll set it up tonight or tomorrow morning. So Marco Giovannini, who is coming later, will talk about NF2 in detail. He actually flew in with his own plane, and he had to delay his takeoff because of the weather in Santa Monica. So, but he will be here in about 20 minutes. So really happy that he could join. He is one of the top researchers in NF2. So he will be here the whole weekend and help you guys out on that part of the deal. So yeah, like again, I'm very impressed by the community that showed up. I think there are people mostly like data science informaticians here, but there are also people from the field of biology. I think I'm not the only patient. I don't know, are there any other patients in the audience right now? I don't think so, but there will come at least one more tomorrow. So that's going to be exciting as well. He's also going to hack. Yeah, this might also not be your typical hackathon. I think a lot of hackathons are centered around more technology problems, but this is actually like, it's a real medical problem that causes biology issues and issues with your body. So it's going to be interesting to make that conversion from like a biological problem to a technical problem, so you guys can work on it. So I'm really excited to see what you guys come up with, what kind of novel approaches you may find during the weekend. So what you see on the screen is actually part of my data. Probably not for you guys, not very exciting because you see this all the time. But I think more and more people will be familiar with this picture as we move along. I want to share some of my journey with you and how I got here. I think it's going to be. I try to keep it relevant to get some context on the situation. So it started like here. This is a photo from a city called Wijk bij Duurstede. This is in the Netherlands. Maybe you hear it from my accent, but I am not from here. Yeah, so it's pretty small city, quiet, not much going on. And I want to share like a little story with you, like that kind of, I think, tells a lot about how my brain works. So I was once in the kitchen and I was cutting my nails with a nail clipper. And then my mother, she told me that I couldn't do that in the kitchen. I had to go outside on the balcony because the nails would jump all over the place, and she didn't like that. She didn't like to clean it up. And so instead of going to the balcony, I changed the nail clipper in a way so that the nails wouldn't jump away, because I was like, I don't want to go to the balcony. So when I'm confronted with a problem, I kind of try to fix it. Yeah, later I tried to patent it, and we patented it, and I think I was like 12 years old or something. So that it's that's kind of what I do when I encounter a problem. And the other thing, I got really interested in the internet in my teenage time. So I started a little internet company in '98 and had bought my own server, put it in a rack, hosted some clients. And yeah, if you were there in the '90s, you might remember how hard it was to share an image or a video with a certain file size, and it was really annoying with your dial-up connection. Actually, today I feel the same with genomic data. I don't know if you guys experience that. Like transferring 250 gigabytes for a BAM file is kind of a headache. So I had to really think about that time with our dial-up modems. Nothing really changes, I guess. Then I decided not to continue in the internet because I thought there's no career in tech. Everybody will be able to do it at some point. So I went to Delft, which is this nice city. It's a little bigger than Wijk bij Duurstede. I think about 10 times bigger, 20 times bigger. I studied architecture there. Buildings and building technology, and I enjoyed it. But when I finished, I didn't like the architecture profession. I worked in an architecture firm for 2 weeks, and I decided it was not my thing. So I kind of went back to tech, and like 10 years after I first started with tech, I found myself back in tech. So that was kind of interesting. Then I started a new company with 2 other guys there, right there, operating the live stream for the patients. We made an app called Ding Dong, and it was a location-based messenger app. And I was really excited about it. It was 5 years ago. I came to the Bay Area for the first time. I planned to go for a week, ended up staying 3 months and changing my ticket all the time. I liked it here. We ended up raising some capital at some point, and we moved to Berlin. So this is kind of where the story of my NF2 diagnosis starts. One morning in Berlin, I woke up and I felt something wrong with my left ear. Like everything sounded like glass, like I flushed the toilet and it sounded like somebody threw over a porcelain cabinet. So that was really weird, and they didn't know what was going on. And, I had treatments with steroids, and it went back a little bit up and down. And then, meanwhile, we were working on a new product, and that kind of starting to take off. So I was kind of here raising money in Berlin, having my little hearing issue. So it was a very, very intense period because we didn't really know what was going on. So we moved. We were kind of in the process of moving here, and then they decided to make an MRI scan. And I remember walking in the doctor's office and seeing a tumor on his computer screen. So I was like, fuck, a tumor. They said they made the MRI scan to check if, just in case there was a tumor. And yes, there was a tumor. But they told me it's benign, and, you will lose that ear, and we just cut it out at some point, and, you'll be fine. So I was like, okay, no big deal. You just lose an ear. It takes, you get used to that, after a couple of months pass. Then we actually made the move here, and later they made another MRI scan to check, did that tumor grow or did it stay the same? And it turned out it grew. So okay, that was not nice. But then they also said oh, you also might have another tumor on your other side, on the other hearing nerve. And you may have this disease called NF2. So I was like, okay, and they told me to Google it. And just beware when your doctor tells you to Google something you might have, because you see the worst cases like pop up on top, right? Those are the cases that go viral and are the most sticky. So I saw like people go deaf, they go blind, they get paralyzed, like end up in a wheelchair. It wasn't pretty. But they were not sure, so they made another scan that was like more precise, and a scan of the spine, and then they said, yeah, we confirmed it was a tumor, and you also have a tumor in your spine. Like, oh, okay, third tumor, you know. So, it was kind of a roller coaster of bad news, until I talked to a doctor in LA, and he said, oh, you're 33, you only have 3 tumors, you have a mild case. So I was like, this is the first good news I got in a while. Like on a parallel track, when I was here the first time, like 5 years ago, I met a few guys that were in genome sequencing, genome analysis. And to be honest, I was always fascinated by it. So every time I would go here, we would kind of have a little chat about what they were doing. I thought it was fascinating. And yeah, their software, they're making some software that actually studies the genome of one particular individual. That's how they got started. So when this happened, we were like, okay, let's do something. Let's sequence me and my tumor. So that was one of the reasons why I wanted to do the surgery rather like sooner than later, right? So I would have the tumor tissue and I could sequence it, and maybe we find something useful. So as you do this, it's really important to do it from a point of like curiosity and exploration. Like, especially it's so personal, your friends are looking at it, right? You have to kind of have a mentality where you're like, I don't really care what comes out of it. Like, if nothing comes out, it's fine. We'll see. So we had a very explorative approach. I think on this side, we are in San Francisco now. We had a very explorative approach. So we did that, we sequenced it, and at some point he came to me and was like, oh, we have some results, like there might be another gene affected too, they seem to be related, like they did some pathway studies, and there was a drug that would target that other gene that was affected. So for me, that was a big turning point, because I thought, hey, this actually seems to pay off, it seems that what we had been doing was leading to new information. Is the people we talked to never really checked for an EGFR or a mutation in that other gene. Like, most of the sequencing was done in the genetic testing in a gene in chromosome 22. But we'll get into the technicalities later. So that kind of got me started on thinking like, how can we do this also for other patients, and every patient we would probably do this analysis with would maybe help us understand the situation better on an individual basis, but also on the situation as a whole. So that's when I started thinking of NF2 project. Yeah, so that's kind of the journey, what got me here. So I lost my hearing on the left side, and they cut out the vestibular nerve as well. So I had to kind of learn how to walk again, basically. Like, there are 2 friends of me here that took me from LA, from the hospital, drove me back to San Francisco. And yeah, I think we can all remember that it wasn't that easy to walk. But a couple of months later, I was skiing. We were doing a black diamond, whatever. So your brain kind of relearns how to deal with a new situation, which is quite impressive to see, like how your brain does that, which kind of gives confidence probably to anyone. Like, if you have a problem or you're losing something, yeah, you have a little bit of grieving, but ultimately you'll learn how to live with it, and it becomes the new standard. Yeah, like second part of something I want to share is around NF2 project itself. I mean, it's all very early, and it's just the beginning. If I don't know if anything is going to come out of it, anything useful. So it's your typical project, right? But the same as we did the sequencing for me, we were doing it from a point of curiosity and exploration. I strongly feel there is something here, so putting all my effort in it. But yeah, it's also a path that is kind of unknown. So to me, that's an exciting thing. There are a bunch of things that I think motivate me to do it. One is, I think the patients, it would be really nice if the patients play a more active role in medical research. So it sounds actually funny, but the patient is there, but it doesn't actually play like a crucial key role. It doesn't seem to be the user, the customer. It's basically a pretty old system that feels, ready to be challenged at least. So I'm really motivated when I talk to patients. I see them like they have so much energy to go after something and to kind of find a way to deal with it or to fix it. One of the problems is they don't necessarily know how. So I am very lucky to be among people that actually know a way to look at it, and amongst all of you. But most patients don't have that luxury. So that's for me is one of the reasons to do this. Another thing is that I see a lot of new technology coming up here, right? Like AI, the genomics becoming much more accessible, cloud computing. Those technologies, we are all very familiar with, or most of the people here are very familiar with it. But it doesn't mean that, the rest of the world is. So I think creating a bridge and bringing all these new technologies to these problems, that is another motivation for me to do this. Yeah, so I kind of want to see if we can lay the groundwork for more pragmatic and actionable research. So a patient, they just want to know which trial should I sign up for, what food should I eat, what food should I avoid. Is stress an important factor? They want to know something they can actually work with, and they are looking for that. And I think when you start with the patients and involve them and they become a starting point of things, we might actually automatically shift into more actionable research. Yeah, so this is would be the diagram, but one of the things that it really excites me about this event and how it came together is that there are definitely patients involved, and they are actually, a part of them are watching on the Facebook Live stream. So that's really cool as a starting point, but also there will be people from research. Marco is going to talk about it, the biology field, and people from the computer world. And I think when these things come together, something really cool can happen. So the third thing is just about this event, the hackathon, right? We actually had a lot of fun organizing this event, and I want to, before I say anything else, I want to thank the people that put their heart in it, because there's definitely what I've seen is the people that were coming to volunteer. There was much more for them to do this than only organizing another hackathon, right? I mean, I'm just an example case, but anybody can get a problem like this, and a lot of other problems you might have in your life like become less relevant, let's say. So I think we all feel that when we were organizing this, and I'm really like grateful that everybody that helped organizing put so much of their heart into this. So yeah, what do we hope to achieve? Well, I think we can't really know. I think this is probably a hard hackathon to participate in because it's a really hard problem we are dealing with, and I think we need a lot of like creativity and kind of boldness to look at this problem. Yeah, and I think it would be great if we have more questions at the end of this hackathon, or maybe we find even novel approaches. But what is it we need to look at next? Like, that's going to be really interesting to know, apart from maybe other results that might come up. Yeah, and another thing I want to point out is we had some discussion around IP and ownership of data, and how open should this be. I think in a hackathon like this, I feel strongly we have to be as open as possible, right? So this hackathon is not about creating new IP. It's about getting to know each other, collaborating, and coming up with novel ideas that might actually help patients one day. So there was like a little bit of a journey. You know, we have like the data privacy we need to think about. Like, you know, I can, in this case, do whatever I want. I'm a person with the data. I'm sharing it with you guys, right? But later, it would be great if we can do more people and involve other patients in that might not even be in the room. So yeah, it would be great if you all like can read this agreement and kind of you just realize that it's important that we do this well to set a precedent for future hackathons to come. And yeah, I'm very happy to be a part of the experiment. That's all I have. I want to close with a little tile that I got right before the surgery. Actually, my mother reminded me of that nail clipper story, and she gave me this tile because I was already kind of talking about, hey, maybe we'll find something using this genome sequencing with the people that I know. So yeah, these problems could cause a lot of solutions. Who knows where it ends? That's where I want to leave it. I don't know if there are any questions. Happy to answer.
That was amazing. Thank you. Thank you. Are there any questions for Onno? Just one or two questions. Yeah.
Have you started any personalized therapeutic process?
The answer is not yet. We found a potential therapeutic, but again, you never know if it works, first of all, and there are like reasons to start with it now or start with it later. But you know, that would be the goal for me in the short term. Like, find an existing drug that's already on the market, FDA approved, maybe not labeled for NF2. But we kind of find something that I could like try out with relatively low side effects. Then in the future, like we might come up with other things like the gene therapies, gene editing, and all these kind of things. But yeah, in the short term, we just are looking for an existing drug that's already like known and well studied. The question is, did my doctor give a checklist of options? Not really. There are like different clinical trials for NF2 running right now. I don't know if Marco is going into. Marco arrived. That's nice. Thank you. Welcome. I don't know if Marco is going to talk about that, but there are like 20 drugs that have been trialed for NF2. None of them really made it through the whole cycle. And they all have pros and cons, and they work for some and they don't work for others. So that is something in the hackathon we can actually try to look at. So the question is if any of the drugs involve immunotherapy, and the answer is no, not yet. And the reason is, I mean, I think there is some work being done on that, but again, Marco probably knows more about that. Like NF2 patients are not expected to die anytime soon, mostly. So you don't want to risk too much with your therapeutic. You know, so you have time to try a bunch of things like without, you know, without dying. Yeah. Any more questions? Oh, there.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Mary Grace. Just out of curiosity, where did you get your tumor sequence? And also, did they sequence a specific tumor on all three sites, or just your whole genome? And did they sequence normal tissue, surrounding normal tissue as well?
Everybody heard that question? Yeah. So the question is if where I got it sequenced and how. So we did it with the Broad Institute, or Broad, or however you want to call it, and all the sequences were done the whole genome, and we sequenced my blood, the tumor that was removed on the left side, and my brother. So we did those three, and those are the three data sets you will have access to as well. What you had another sub question to that? Yeah, like I can actually share another small story. Like actually Marco was there during the event. Someone asked me the same question, like, do you have another tumor sequence as well? Because it could really help. All these tumors can be different, right? So I was like, no, not really. I have another tumor on the right side and one in the spine, but you cannot really take a biopsy there, right? Then I remembered I had a little bulge here, and I was at a table with probably 5 pretty well-known NF2 doctors, and they were like feeling it, and they were like, yep, that's a schwannoma. And I was like, okay, great, because this one can be easily removed and sequenced. So yeah, we may have another data set soon. Who knows?
I have one last question. Can Marco use your laptop to present? Awesome. All right. Great. So I guess a lot of the reason we're here is because of Onno. And I mean, in my personal opinion, I mean, having educated patients that are willing to share their data really leaps over a lot of regulatory hurdles. And so it's a really amazing thing. And in my personal opinion, Onno's really sort of a role model in terms of patients getting involved in their own treatment very, very actively.